got a conversation going. He happened to be the chamber president, had no idea, invited me to the meeting to talk to the board today. So I did a Google My Business presentation for him, about a 20-minute presentation. It was only the board director, so it was only about 10 people, but I've already got a minimum of 3 of them that want to do something. So yeah, I mean, it's not money in the bank yet, but they're definitely interested.
Wow.
Had them opt in, and what I did was just real quickly, I did my lead generation. I got a QR code. This is my business card. It's hard to see right there, but this is my business card. I have them scan it so it goes in the phone. I know when they opt in, and I put them in my funnel to follow up. But anyway, sometimes you just got to go out and talk to people.
Yeah, all the time. That's right. Get the word out. Congratulations. That sounds like a
That's
big,
awesome. That's a huge one.
yeah,
Very cool.
3 potential clients. That's great. Not bad for a morning's work. Was it hard to get on the schedule to do that, Greg? No.
No, small town. So I mean, they need help really, really bad, and these people have no clue how to do anything. So I just did a general overview for them, and they just, of course, it was like deer in the headlights. Had no idea. So I just showed them a few things, fed them some stuff. I gave them my ebook. I got a 157-page ebook that I did here last year. You can give them that. So basically, give them all
157 pages.
Yeah.
Is it all pictures or diagrams?
No, it's words. I put a lot of work into this. Yeah, it's Google My Business 3.0. Yeah, it was a lot of work. It wasn't something I just threw together. So, yeah.
Right on.
So
that's on the book too.
Up.
I've dabbled in that. It's not an easy thing to do. So congratulations. Who else has got
somebody else talk? Yep.
Patric's messing with the tech.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I got some wins, different types of wins. Raised a couple clients, so just pure profit right there. Landed one. This is within like the last few weeks. I have a really close friend from high school that I have just been, I put all my own money into it because it's a niche I didn't really know. So it's just, at the end of the day, it doesn't cost that much. So I just put a bunch of work in to a couple different sites, and he is so very close. He's been meeting with this person a few times to closing a $275,000 label deal a month, and it would make him like $60,000 profit. So that'd be awesome, because he's like, this is going to change the course of my business, like really change the course of his life, like double it overnight if he closes it, which is very, very close. So that would be like my biggest win of all time, because he's a really good friend, and just helping his business, there. I also just moved to Denver 2 weeks ago. So that's a huge win. And yeah, I don't know. Things are going really fucking good in all categories of life right now.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Patric. I know you were on the fence about where you were going to land, so I'm glad you landed.
I was like Austin or Denver, and I just pulled the trigger in Denver. If I don't like it this year, I'm just going to move to Austin next year.
Yeah, why not? You can do that, right?
Oh, and a GMB win too. I had this client try to give me 3 GMBs, 3 addresses. I sent him 3 times, all 3 of them. Never got one. He said they didn't receive them. He's like, hey, we're not getting results. And I told him it's going to take 9 months. I did the whole get the money up front thing. And it was 2 months. Say, hey, we're not getting any results. I'm like, dude, I told you it's going to take 9 months. He's like, I want a refund. I'm like, hold your horses there. Like, I'm not going to do that, because this is what we agreed in. We've already put money into these sites. So I was just emailing Google saying, hey, we didn't get it. I've got 2 of the GMBs live. I talked to Google on the phone twice, and I'm close to getting the other one. I never got a postcard for it, but I just said, hey, we didn't receive it. We're a service-based business, and they got live, and I'm starting to get leads now. So that worked out too.
That's awesome, man. Patric, you're crushing it. It sounds like, I know you've been away for a little while, but you kind of came back and just destroying it. So that's awesome to see.
Sir.
I got some wins. A little small. like 3,000 in GMB stuff. Still dealing with growth issues. So, you know, we will land a big client and then bog down a little bit on the sales side of things. So, yeah, just growing pains, just continually growing, adding more money to the bank account, and you know, helping out some of the members in this group with some of the knowledge that I'm gaining along the way. So, yeah, it's things. The ride has been amazing.
That's awesome, Spencer. Oh man, hang on. I've got nonstop tech issues, guys. I'm trying to, I paid for this office because I thought I was going to have stable internet, and it just hasn't worked out that way. And then we're struggling with the streaming, but that's awesome, Spencer. Thank you for helping out the other people in the group. It's people like you that really make this better, because it's hard for me and my team to handle everything. So that's the community we really want to build, is one that is going to, one that is going to serve itself, and, just kind of continue to have people like you that level up the rest of the group. So really appreciate that. That's awesome. Who else has wins? Nobody? Is that the end of our wins? All right.
Hi guys. I'm going to say, look, I've been away for a couple of weeks, but I just want to thank, win for me is both of what Patrick and you, Jeff, have presented the last 2 weeks. I haven't been able to attend. It's given me so much more clarity. It is absolutely fantastic. And it's a win for me, because now I was trying to do, paper lead. Now I'm going to do rank and rent. And yeah, it's so good. So thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Awesome, Lenny. That's great, man. I'm glad you're getting some value out of it. I'm going to kind of pick up with some more. I'm kind of building this, and as I mentioned, we're working towards putting together a course. So I'm kind of taking some of the feedback that you guys give us along the way here, and going to be putting it into the course. I'm really seeing I'm seeing a lot of positive feedback from you guys on some of these last lessons, where we've kind of returned more to some of the foundational stuff. So, we're going to continue to do that. And obviously when we release our course, it's going to be kind of from an A to Z. So starting at the beginning and going through all the different steps that you need along the way, because I understand that not everybody has the same history on like where they came. When this first started, a lot of people, we kind of came from like maybe one or two groups, and now it's just been so diversified that it's not safe to make this assumption. So we're really trying to make sure that no one gets left behind, and we kind of like give everybody a solid foundation on the stuff. So what I want to do is I'm going to go into what I have planned for you guys now, and we can chat a little bit about this. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully my internet will cooperate enough. All right, and we kind of like see Jeff. Can you see my screen? Thumbs up or yes? Yep. All right, cool. All right, cool. So I know that a lot of you guys, when you get started, like one of the first decisions you're going to make is choosing a platform, and there is no, to my knowledge and to my understanding, I'm not aware of any ranking factor that is going to positively help or hurt in any one of these platforms. I think these are probably the three most popular platforms. WordPress, I believe, is the most popular in the world. Each of these have their own pros and cons.
A little bit, Patrick.
What's that?
Can you make it a little bigger?
Yes, I can.
You have a big screen there, but
How's that?
that's perfect.
Okay, cool. All right, so what I've got is I've got these kind of like three main platforms here. So we've got WordPress, Weebly, and Duda. Some of you guys are on Snaps. Snaps, like it's the same as Duda. I would not use Snaps. I would use Duda. Snaps is essentially a white label version of Duda, and you get Duda's support and their backing, and they're a billion, like I think they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and they have a really good reputation. So if you're in that, you may and you love it, you may, kind of transition. But let's talk about some of the pros and cons of these. So we're going to start off with WordPress. That's my choice. I know that in the beginning, if you're just getting started and you don't like, this is going to open up some more complications that you might not have with some of these other choices. So if you're just getting started, you may want to start off with like Weebly or something, and then transition over to here later. With us, we have, as you can see right here, we have like more than 400 sites, and I think I pay $120 a month, somewhere around there. It might be 130 or something. You're not paying on a per site basis. You're paying for hosting. So the hosting, this is like how much space do you need on hosting, right? That's what's going to determine your cost. So this is more scalable. And as you're paying only for hosting. There's a lot of plugins and there's a lot of experts. So there's a ton of knowledge on WordPress because, like I said, I believe it is the most popular one in the world. So there are tons of people. So there's sites like onlinejobs.ph where you can hire people that are experts. This is not like, so this is onlinejobs.ph. So these are people from the Philippines. You can find some like super talented people in there. So, and they're not expensive relative to maybe like the Western world, right? For them, it's a lot of money, but for us, because of the price difference, it's not super expensive to hire them. You can hire someone, maybe between like $4 and $7 an hour. You could find someone that has years and years of experience in WordPress. So that is certainly a way to do it. Is you can have one of them do it when you are. It's my opinion, if there are people like that exist for that rate, then that's not maybe a skill set that you should try to master. That should be one that you hire. So the cons are it's harder to use. There can be security issues. So if you don't keep things updated, you don't stay on top of it. So this is kind of like all blending together. Okay, right? So having a WordPress developer help you, they can fix this issue and you won't have to worry about that one. Okay, so Weebly is cheaper than Duda. It's more expensive than WordPress because you're paying per site per month. The prices can start to add up. I think it's like $8 or $9 per site per month, where I think Duda is 14. So it's a drag and drop builder. It's easier to use. Their security is good because as you open things up from a development perspective, like WordPress has, where they're like users can get into the back end and change a lot of things, that creates the possibility for security flaws, right? People are building themes and all this kind of flexibility allows for intruders to come in. So Weebly doesn't have that. So they have better security for the most part, or like it's easier to manage essentially. There are huge sites, e-commerce stuff that's running on WordPress. So don't get it in your head that like I think banks, there's probably banks I think that run on, I mean, there's just like all kinds of people that have chosen WordPress as their platform. So don't just like automatically think that, you can't have good security, because there's big sites all over the world that are doing that. As I mentioned, you pay per site, prices can add up. They don't have a lot of like plugins. So like with WordPress, you can get plugins for all kinds of crazy things like shipping, or like, not that we would need it for this, but they have SEO plugins. They just have all this stuff because it's more of an open source community. There's been a ton of developers that have built things out, which make it, which is great for WordPress. They just have all this stuff within Weebly. Duda, I think, is the easiest to build with, and their sites, it's easier to kind of create a more beautiful site. They have more things built in than Duda. Their support's great. The security is great. Like I mentioned, I think they're a multi-billion-dollar company. So they have, they're very well established. This is the most expensive to build with, right? It's $14 a month per site. So that's not good for scale. If you were to look at what we have with over 400 sites, I mean, that like, I can't do the math quick enough, but what is that? Yeah. It's going to be pretty expensive though per month, right? So any questions on these of anything I went over just now? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to the types of pages that we often build on our sites. Okay, so when we go to build it, we have, it looks like 8 types of pages that we're commonly building here. So the whole page is the most important page. So generally what we start with is we start with the homepage and the contact page. So those are going to be the two, like your goal should be to start the clock when you build out a project. You want to get the clock started as quickly as possible. So that means that you're going to choose a domain, and then you're going to launch this thing as quickly as possible. And then you can add on to it over time, because you want Google to find it. You want Google to know that it exists. There's some benefits to having it aged, right? Like Google is not going to trust you as much when you're the new person there. You have no reputation, right? So let's get that process started. So the first thing we do is we're going to start off with a 2-page site every time. So we're going to build out the homepage and the contact page. Homepage is going to have a minimum of 1,500 words. Usually they end up being like probably 2,300, 2,400 for us. We just build one homepage, obviously. So this is going to cover all the services a little bit. So we're going to do our keyword research. I'm going to bring over a tool. There are a lot of different ways to do keyword research. You can do it for free. You can do it with AHREFs. You can do it with SEMrush. You can do it with Google Ads. So let me see if I was doing like roofing, right? So say I just do a search for roofing, and maybe I'll do like roofing contractors, because I want to really get the buyer intent correct, where it's like, hey, I'm looking for a roofer. So if we come down here to the bottom, we can kind of see that there are, they're mentioning different things like reputable, affordable, roofing companies, roofing contractors, right? So they are making suggestions based on like my word, and I can build out a keyword list based on that, right? So I can expand. I saw roofing companies down there. So let's say I do roofing companies, Boca Raton, Florida. Okay. So, and I go down here, and then there's going to be more words. Now there's like roofers. So this can help you build out a list of keywords. And this is really going to drive a lot of how this is. You need to do this research first, because you need to know what to talk about, right? You need to know what services to mention. So I like AHREFs, and it is not cheap. I think we're paying for a couple users, and I think it's over $200 a month, which is probably out of a lot of your guys' budget if you're just getting started. But I want to show you what you're going for. And there's another one called Keywords Everywhere. That's a really good one, and that one's super cheap. I think you can. Okay, yeah, this right here, Keywords Everywhere. So the way this works is you pay like $10, and you can get 100,000 credits. And this is like an extension that you load in. So as you search for something, so if I search for something, it's going to, when I load that extension, it's going to give me a list of keywords off to the right. And, so there's 100,000 credits. So let's say it comes back with like 100 keywords. So now I have like, 999,900 search left. So it will go a long way. That's kind of how their credit system works. But let me show you kind of what you're going for when I use AHREFs. So I'm going to show you kind of the terms that I want. So I'm going to bring this over here. All right. So we can see that it's given me all these like related terms. And if I click over here off to the left, I can get a bunch of related terms. I can take this further, and it kind of breaks it down by category. So you want to make sure that you're choosing things that are that have intent, right? So if I go down here to, there's probably like this, for instance, this probably has no buyer intent, right? How do I this is not the kind of stuff I want to have. So when I go to build out my service pages and my homepage, I'm going to mention, so on my homepage, I'm going to mention a little bit about each service. And that area is going to link to the service pages, as well as I'm going to have that service page in my navigation, right? So I'm going to build out like the main topics right here, because I need to start off with my keyword research. So I'm going to build out categories. I'm going to look at the like what do roofers actually provide, right? So if I go and I look for like roofing contractors, so let's just choose one of these guys. So we'll choose this Emergency Roofing LLC. We'll go to the site. What services do they provide, right? So we're going to kind of combine this roof replacement. So that's like anytime you're in a niche, there's like one of favor replacement and installation over repair, because a lot of what you're going to find is if you start to get a lot of repair, you're going to get a lot of leads that aren't don't have any value to the client, right? So you want to really prioritize replacement installation stuff over this. You can see there's waterproofing system. So I'm going to look at several different sites and I'm going to kind of make my service list. And then I'm going to kind of cross-reference that with the keyword research I do. And that's how I'm going to determine what my service pages are. You can see 10 plus, but keep adding. So you want to look for opportunities to add in other service pages. So like metal roofing would be one potentially, shingle roofing. So all these different things can be different pages, right? Because what Google's trying to do is Google's trying to match who has the best information. You understand why like Wikipedia ranks so well? Because Wikipedia has like amazing information with like all this real stuff. So that's a big hint to us what we need on our sites, right? So if we can kind of be the Wikipedia and cover all the subjects on the niche, then Google will favor us because our competitors aren't going to be doing that, especially locally, right? So we're going to cover all the services on our homepage just a little bit. It's kind of like you want to have you want the homepage to kind of be an overview of what you guys do, and links going out in every direction to different pages on your site. So we have a contact page. So that's always our second one. There's always going to be a form. If we have the opportunity to put our address, then we will, but a lot of times we won't because we're hiding it and we're like using someone, like we sent our Google My Business to someone. So that one's kind of comes with the caveat. The email, we always have an email address that's associated with this. And then we forward that email to, like, let's say we have 100 different websites, right? And we'll put an email on there that's like info@domain, whatever the domain is. And then if like, you'll find that people with larger projects, they don't want to fill out a form. They want to email you specs and stuff. So it's important that you do that so that you can take advantage of those. And you want to forward those emails to one email address that you can have someone check. And then you can be adding those leads into your LeadSnap account so that you can track everything, right? So we always have the phone number on there as well. So this phone number is like our main phone number, which will be the same one that is also on the homepage. Okay, so service pages, 1,000 to 1,250 words usually for us. We kind of have a minimum of 10. Like I said, we launch with 2, but we're really trying to get to like 10 service pages pretty quickly. You want to dive deep into the service and you want to select the keyword based on the keyword volume and the services that are provided, just kind of like what we talked about with the homepage. So we do location pages too. So location pages are like an entry point for a secondary GMB. So my first GMB, whichever one I get first, well, let me take that back. We try to choose a GMB that is in the center of the city to be the one that goes to our homepage, because that's kind of be our primary one. And that one is going to have the best keyword be a part of that GMB name. And that's going to link to our homepage. Okay. And then as we get additional GMBs, we're going to link them to location pages. So if you think about this, if someone finds your GMB and it's like a secondary or it's your third or fourth GMB, and they click to go to your website, this is their entry point to your website. So it makes sense to make it look like a homepage. Don't make it look like some weird like service area page or service page that's just about that one service. You want this to this is their first experience of your company. So you want this to look a lot like a homepage. So again, that's why we're going back to 1,500 keywords and or 1,500 words. And we are covering all the services again, because it's going to look like the homepage. So neighborhood pages are, these pages are like special pages and they're linked in the footer. So we'll put like something that says something like near us in the footer, and then that will link to a page, and then we'll have a list of all of our neighborhood pages. And from there, they can get to the actual neighborhood page. The reason that we do this is we do this so that we can talk about and become more relevant, like hyper local. So when we run a heat map and we see that we're weak in an area, we'll find out what are the neighborhoods that are weak or that are in that area. And then let's through and talk about, we're not talking about the services. We're just talking about the area. So you can see right here, we're just talking about the area, the landmark, whatever the history is. There's no need to mention any services on those pages. Okay. So then we have the FAQ pages. So the FAQ pages, this is a great opportunity. So if we go back to our roofing companies, you come down here. Let's just do this. Let's get Boca out of there. Okay. So when I do a search, Google always asks me, let's see if I can make this bigger. Google is always giving you like these questions, right? So these are questions that you can put on your page. You can put some of these on your home page. So one, like Google pays attention to your bounce rate, right? So that is like what percentage of people come to your page and then just bounce and they just leave and they don't go to another page. So it could be a good tactic if you were to put a question on there that a lot of people want to know and start to answer it, and then put something that says read more, and then you could have them go from there over to a page that covers that topic in depth. And then you've kind of manufactured the bounce rate, because Google doesn't like bounces, and they can, it's going to negative, if your bounce rate is too high, that will negatively impact your ranking. So you can influence this by kind of like giving part of an answer and then kind of referring them to a page. But the frequently asked questions, you can make these up by like going through and like use this information. This information is here because Google is looking for this information, right? So you can use this to build out your FAQ. Don't take this word from word, but you can use this to get ideas. And as you switch the terms up here, these questions will change down here. So you can kind of like bounce through it and get a bunch of those. Okay, and then the About Us page, we don't always do these. Like if we have a client who has something like that was on HGTV, and they've been like, they had stuff on like in some of the professional stadiums, like, so we used their, because they had extra credibility, or if they've been in business for like 30 years, or they've like won awards. This is a really good, and it may be something that you don't build at the beginning, but as you get that client and as you kind of get this thing sold, you can go back and add this page, right? So blog articles, these are kind of never ending, and you can use the keywords in here. So if I go back over to AHREFs, or if I were to go and look at these questions, I could turn any of these into a blog article as well, right? So maybe I mentioned this and it's not on my FAQ page, I write an entire blog about it, right? Or I can go in through here and I can look at maybe some of the terms that are in here. So maybe like contractor is a bad example, but there might be something in here about like you know, residential, like maybe types of residential roofing or something like this, where I'm just going to cover a subject and I'm going to really like dive deep into it just on a narrow focus, right? And so basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to become the Wikipedia on a subject. Forgot I have this other column that's kind of hiding over here. So we can see the homepage. I mentioned we have the primary GMB, the location pages. So those are like the additional GMBs. So however many of those are going to depend on how many additional GMBs you have set up, right? And then the neighborhood, you're going to pick what areas to talk about based on the weak areas on your heat map. Okay, so I know I just covered a ton of information here with this stuff. Do we have any questions on this?
Hey, Patrick, I think there's some confusion about how do you link to the neighborhood pages? Do you link off the home page? Do you link to them at all? Like, how do you do that?
Yes, so that brings me to exhibit 3. So we have this. So this kind of like is a basic like workflow structure here. So this box represents your home page, and you can kind of see we have our footer at the bottom of the home page. So what we do, the way we'll set it up is we'll say like our services will be a drop down, and then we'll have something called service areas. That's also a drop down. And those are all location pages, right? So the location pages, if we look down here, our first GMB links to the home page. Our second GMB links to a location page. Our third GMB links to a different location page. So these location pages will be listed. These guys right here will be listed on this drop down, right? And then we have this thing that says near us in our footer. So because these aren't really, as I mentioned, we're not talking a lot about the actual, we're not talking about the services that are offered. So we kind of hide these pages a little bit. So we put them in this near us. So this will link to a neighborhood list page that has a list of all the different neighborhoods. And then down here, this will link to individual neighborhood pages. Is that big enough to see?
Yeah, we can see it, Patrick.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? I don't know whose question that was.
Yeah, I think there was just a little confusion, across the board on that. So thank you for clarifying. The other question that has come up is, are you going to provide this document in the file section of the group for future reference?
Yeah, I'll throw this in there. I know that we had one a couple weeks ago that you guys were looking for too. So I'll make sure that I can get both of those in there. I think the lead calculator that we created was one that was requested, and I'm not sure we delivered that in there. One point of reference, because we kind of just like glazed over this like hiring section. We have a number of videos that will show you and take you through step by step on like what the hiring process looks like. So if you were to go to the Facebook group, let me just pull that over here 1 second. Jeff, do we have any other questions while I'm doing this?
Yeah, Graham just posted a question that says William Jones and Chris Palmer said we should never link multiple GMBs to the same domain. Would love to hear your thoughts on this suspension wise.
Yeah, I've heard that recently, and I'll tell you, we've got hundreds and we've been doing this for a long time, and we don't lose very many. And there's countless examples of other people that do this. Google actually has documents that say, hey, if you've got like multiple GMBs, this is the structure on how to do it. And that's what we followed. So if you were to look at something like Domino's Pizza, where they have like, the state and the city, and then they've broken it down. So we've kind of like followed that. We're not Domino's. They're like a brick and mortar, but it is acceptable for, it is acceptable for service area businesses to have multiple crews, right? There's what about a national roofing company that has like Google My Businesses all over the country, right? Like maybe they've got like 150 crews across the United States. So they need to build out a different domain, even though they're the same company. It just wouldn't make sense to not have that be legitimate. That being said, like I definitely think like William Jones and Chris Palmer, these guys are experts, right? So you should, like, everyone's got their own different opinions on how things work, and I respect their opinions as well. But my personal experience has shown that we've had some suspensions, very little suspensions relative to the number of Google My Businesses that we have. And as I mentioned, like let's say you do this. Let's say you build like 3 sites and you put like 1 GMB on each of those. And we build 3 sites and we put 5 GMBs on each of those. So we have 15 and you have 3. And then let's say like over the course of 12 months, we lose like 3 of them, right? So now we've like, man, you guys didn't lose any. So your suspension percentage is 0. And we've lost, 20% of ours, but we still have 4 times more. And usually when that happens, then we just get a couple more, right? So, I feel comfortable doing it the way that we do it, but you got to make the decision what makes the most sense for you. It's more to build multiple sites, attach multiple GMBs to each site. That's my go-to. So one thing I wanted to circle back to real quick. So if you go in here to the featured section and click on this document that Jeff has made, this document is awesome. And there is tons of stuff. If you were to do a search for like hiring, there's tons of videos in here on how to hire, which, you get the exact minute of when we talk about this. So I would go through those if you're nervous about trying to find a person. If you decide that WordPress is the best for you and you want to hire somebody and you want to try a site like this, Upwork.com is another really good site for hiring people as well.
I have a quick question on neighborhood pages, Patrick. Why wouldn't you throw at least something about services on the neighborhood pages since they're going to be up anyway? Wouldn't that make them more relevant or not? Or is it just not the purpose?
I guess you could, but it just seems a little spammy when you start to have like, some small area with like the services, you're going to have a lot of this service stuff covered on your other pages. The point of is just to build like hyper local relevance to an area. And I think it looks more legitimate if you have like, you're just going to cover this area and it doesn't look like you're trying to like jam keywords into like this little area. You can use your keywords with those areas and reviews and questions on the actual Google My Business to aid in kind of building some of that keyword relevance to those specific areas and terms that you want to target.
Gotcha. Cool. There's a question from Facebook. Daniel's asking, do you create separate email account for each GMB? Yes. Do you log into GMBs from the same computer VPS? If you want to take that.
Yeah. So 100% you want to create separate emails for every GMB. I've heard of a lot of people who didn't really take heed of this advice, and they've had entire like portfolios of GMBs all get suspended at the same time. If you find yourself in that situation, then you can create a Gmail and transfer ownership to a new one to separate those out and give yourself a level of protection. It's almost like quarantining and giving yourself some protection if Google finds something that's suspicious in the way that you're doing things and you've got them connected. So do we log into them? What was the second half? Do we log into them from the same VPS?
Yep.
Yeah. So the way that we do it is we like when we're setting things up, we have we do have a virtual virtual private server. That's what that is, right? VPS, virtual private server. So we use like Amazon Web Services for I can't remember. Is that I feel like that's not the exact term that they call it, but essentially you log into this computer that is, which maybe that's what a VPS is. You log into this computer, we make our requests from there, and then we add our stuff into LeadSnap. And then at that point, we pretty much manage everything from LeadSnap. However, it is recommended that you check in on these Gmails like once a month, right? Because Google actually, if you don't log in for too long, then like, if it goes like a year, Google can shut down your Gmail account, and then you could lose access to the actual, to the actual GMB that's associated with that.
Right on.
All right. How are we doing on questions?
We're caught up on questions at this point.
Okay, cool. That was kind of what I had to cover. I figured that would take longer. I guess was I talking fast? All right. What do you guys want to talk about? We don't have to stay on for the full hour. If you guys have some questions, if anybody is struggling with something and you want to just kind of like, if you want a little one-on-one coaching in front of the group, I'm happy to give it.
Hey, Patrick. This is Vadim. How are you?
Vadim, what's up, brother?
Not much. All good, thanks. How's everything with you? Listen, I had a couple of questions for you in regards to using lead gen, and Jeff and I spent a few minutes the other day trying to figure things out, but I thought I'll run it by you as well. When you go to when you create a company, right, within the lead gen, there are several tabs associated with that company. One of the tabs is forwarding leads, and another tab is the phone tab. So I want to understand exactly what those tabs are supposed to do. So for example, forwarding lead tab, is it supposed to forward a lead to a dashboard of lead generated, or it is supposed to send an email to assigned client? And same thing for the phone tab. What is it supposed to do? Send an email to a client or send a lead to a dashboard within the lead generated? I hope I'm being clear.
Yeah, well, I've got my screen share in here, Vadim, and I'm not 100%. I think you're talking about this area. You said within a company, right?
Well, I usually go through settings, find the company I want to work with.
And is it inside Edit Company and you're talking about lead forwarding?
Right, exactly. So those two tabs, lead forwarding and phone tabs. So we can start with either
Okay,
one.
so yeah, let me explain. Right. So we haven't phased this out completely, but lead forwarding was set up prior to us having automations. Okay. And it looks like my internet is going to be slow. Okay, there we go. So lead forwarding was set up before we had automations. And this was a way for you to just come in here. Right now, both of these options will work. You can either forward leads to clients through our automations, or you can use this, right? So the way this works is this will automatically forward form submissions as they come in to clients. And this will automatically forward information about the phone call as it comes in. So this is something to be careful with, I guess, because if you try to auto forward a call that the client took themselves, they may get confused when they receive the call and then they get a message that a call like, hey, a new lead came in, and that lead might have been a phone call or it might have been a form submission. So we give you the option to turn these on and off separately. You can 100% replicate this with a lot more control through the automations. So you can automatically forward leads when they come in. You can do all sorts of stuff through the automations that you can't do here. So this is kind of like our old system for this. And this is the same really with the phone. Okay, so the phone is really qualified call filters because of the relentless spammers that have constantly bombard our clients. We're not sure which phone calls are real phone calls and which ones are not, right? So what we did here is we have this like qualified call filters, and some of you guys have had there's been some confusion with this in the past, where when a call comes in, we have this, we kind of have this like all calls area and all leads. And when a call comes in, it's kind of over here first. It's not automatically added as a lead because we wanted to try to protect your lead count. So the lead, the leads, the form submission that comes in for the leads, we have the spam filters that protect this area from the form submissions, like watering down your lead count. But we didn't have anything that would protect the callers. So we gave you guys this qualified call filters, right? And basically what it's going to do is when a call comes in, if it meets these filters, it's automatically going to move it into this all leads area. So that's what its purpose was. So if you turn this on and you don't put anything in here, it's going to move every call that comes in as a lead. So you have that option if that's how you want it to work. Or you could say, I only want to move it over if the call is at least 30 seconds long and it has one of these statuses, right? So like maybe it's an answered, and maybe I want to include these area codes, right? So I only want to move it over if it's from these area codes. So then that's going to automatically move these. But with the, we added the automations, I think about 6 or 7 months ago. And if we were to go here and create a new automation, so these automations are super powerful and flexible. I could go over here and say, hey, when a new phone call comes in, and then I can add in filters here, just like that other area. So I could say if the company is equal to, maybe I only want to do it for this bear removal company, and I'm going to add in multiple filters here. So I'm going to say the call duration is greater than or equal to, just like we did before, 30 seconds. Then I want to qualify this as a lead, right? So I'm essentially doing exactly what we just did, but I could add in additional filters here too, right? So you could say, like, if this is a first-time caller, it's equal to first time, right? So then it's only going to add it if it's these, and then I could follow that up with sending a text message, maybe that, like, I could customize this text message here. You know, maybe what I want, if I want to let my client know, then I could say, come over here and I could say, hey, and then I could grab the client name, or I could grab the client's first name. Just wanted to give you a heads up that that phone call was from us. Here is their information, right? And I could come down here and I could drag over this information. So maybe I want to include the call recording. So that's going to be a link to the recording. I can include the phone number. I could say the caller ID information, which may or may not be who they really are. So I could drag that over, right? So then I'm going to send a text message as soon as this comes out. So you can kind of see, you can replicate that functionality, Vadim, through this, or you can use that. But that's why we have both of those, because that was the first version. And this is kind of the updated version of it. I think eventually we're going to probably phase those two ones out. But, you know, I want to make sure that everyone knows how this stuff works. And, you know, I know some people are relying on that right now.
Yeah, I got, sorry, I got the automation working for me. So it works beautifully. It's just the part of that lead forwarding and the phone tab, I could never get it to work. And I wasn't sure if it's redundant to, you know, to automation or not. So apparently it's kind of a redundant here in this case.
It is currently a redundancy within the system. One thing that I would add is, you know, that you're going to want to update the status, because what we do, if you guys see that progress field that shows up, there's a progress field throughout our system, and that progress was meant to help you guys understand the progress of a lead being delivered from the time it arrives to the time it gets sent to a client. So we have this field here, and if you do it with the automation, you might want to update this to forwarded, right? So that way, especially if it's like a form submission and you're sending that form to your client, then we can mark this as forwarded. And when we go and we look at our all leads area, there's a progress field here. I'm going to show you guys a big change that we're about to release that I think is going to make the way leads are managed a little bit easier. But you can, where is this guy? Progress right here. So this forwarded right here, this field was meant to ensure that all your leads are getting sent to your clients, right? Because obviously a lot of people are using the system for managing their lead generation business. So this field in forwarded is meant to say like, hey, did the client receive this lead? And when it's marked as forwarded, that means that it was forwarded to the client, right? So when you're in this automation, it may be a good idea if you're taking advantage of that field so that you can kind of keep track of it and say, okay, which ones have been sent and which ones don't. When a new form submission comes in and it hasn't been dealt with, it has the status of needs attention, right? And then after you send it, it'll automatically mark it as forwarded but when you're using this automation, you have to do that part manually. Does that make sense, Vadim?
Yeah, it does. So just a follow-up question. So if somebody sends a form, right, I can create an automation when that form will be forwarded to a client's email automatically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So to do that, you would just come up here and inside your automation, and you would just set the trigger to be a form submission, right? And then you can say, if you want this to happen, so you can essentially set this up for all your companies in a few seconds, right? If I don't put a filter on here, I'm just going to get rid of some of these right here. So let's say I don't put a filter on here. So when a new form submission comes in, it's going to be sent. So right now I've got this set to be sent to the contacts number. So the contact is a lead, essentially. That's the same. When someone fills out the form, they're the contact. But there's this option down here that says the associated client for the company, right? So now, because I'm using these variables, it's going to replace the client name with whatever the client is that's associated with this company. And it's going to grab that. So I have the caller's information in here, but maybe I want to do this for a form, and I could say, here's their information, right? First name, last name, phone. I can drag and drop all. Oops, I got to get my cursor down here. So I can drag in whatever fields I have on my form. And now within just a few seconds, every form submission that comes in is going to get texted to the client that's associated with that company. Or you could set it up as an email, right? If I chose my step to be an email, I could do the exact same thing, right? So, or you can choose certain companies. Maybe you want I mean, this is where this system gets incredibly powerful and flexible, right? Because I can go in here and I can say, maybe for this certain zip code, if it contains one of these zip codes, I can enter like, hey, I want like ones in this zip code to go to this client, and I want ones in this other zip code to go to this other client, right?
Right.
So that's kind of why we favor this automation over the original system. Obviously, this one was a lot more complicated to build, but the other one was one that just get things working from the beginning, right? And now we've had more time and we've come back and we've said, okay, let's give our users a lot more power and flexibility to be able to control how things are sent to their clients and personalize it a bit.
Okay, so I have a quick question. So within the contact tab here, right, you have here. So if phone call comes in, you basically have only, you probably have only the phone number, right? You
I'm sorry,
rarely
Bobby,
have name,
that is not great. You
right?
were
So when you forward that information to a client, it would contain only the phone number.
Did you get that, Patrick?
No, I didn't. My internet is
He's saying on a call, you would only have the phone number. No information would be the phone number. That's all you would
You hear
have.
me well?
Yeah, I can hear you now. My apologies. So you'll actually have more than that for a call. You'll have the phone number every time. You'll have a call recording, right? So I can drag this call recording over here. You're not going to have things like the email. You're right. So if there's no email, it's going to get left blank, right? It's just it's not going to put anything here because we don't have it. Yeah, and also sometimes you're going to have information about their name. So when this phone call comes in, it creates a contact in our system. And if there's caller ID information, then that name is a part of their contact. And we can potentially have their name, but we're not going to have like their email or city or things like that, right? So that information would be left off. Does that make sense? Is it cutting out again, Jeff?
I heard you. I heard you.
Maybe it's
Patrick, you're good. I think Vadim might not have heard you.
Yeah, we can't hear him right now, so he's.
Vadim is
Yeah, I can hear you now.
There he goes. All right.
Yeah, you keep breaking, but I can hear you. So I understood. So basically, only the fields that are available will be forwarded to the client, right?
That's exactly right. That's right.
Okay. Can I ask another question or what?
Yeah, for sure.
So basically, I was playing with the call flow the other day.
Okay.
So once you activate the call flow, right, does it overwrite the initial setup if you don't have a call flow? Am I clear or I'm kind of confusing?
No, I got you. Let me show you how this works, and I think it will clear it up. So we've got some work to do on ours to improve the way that this works. There's no doubt about it. I've got a lot of ideas on how to do this. Obviously, the phone system is new, but the way it's working now is you create a call flow, you buy a number or port in a number, and then you create a call flow. And then if you go to the numbers area, and you assign that phone number call flow. Okay, so call flow has to be associated with the company that the phone number is to be there. So we're looking at potentially not having that be such a strict relationship. But if I go look at my list of phone numbers that are in here, hang on one sec. If I go look at my list of phone numbers, right, and I click on edit, this is where I can come in and I can say, okay, what call flow do I want to use? And you can see these are all the call flows that are associated.
You might be on a different screen, Patrick.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Can you see me now?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So I'm on my list of phone numbers here, right? So I've got all my numbers. I've gone into phone system, numbers, all numbers, right? So this is my list of phone numbers. And if I click edit next to one of these, then I come down here, there's an option where I can assign a call flow to a phone number. So whatever call flow is assigned here is what it's going to use, right? If I turn this off, if I don't want to use a call flow, then it's going to use the settings that are inside of here, right?
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense how that works?
So if I activate the call flow, then it's going to go through a call flow process.
Yeah, whatever one you choose, it's going to follow that process, right? So if I go over here to call
But
flow,
for example, right now you have a bear removal as a whisper. Will this part play or the part within the call flow plays? So let's say within the call flow, I don't have a whisper.
Good question. So that whisper message is that kind of happens. This is separate from the call flow, essentially. So if you have this on and you have the call flow on, then it's going to do the whisper message and then go to the call flow.
Okay.
If you don't want the whisper, you shut this off. So this whisper will work whether you have the call flow or not, and then it goes to the call flow.
So there is no need to create another call whisper within the call flow because this one already going to play.
Yeah, there's actually not a step within the call flow that's a whisper message. So it's yeah, we didn't put that functionality into it. So this is where you do the whisper message.
Okay, so so kind of the basic call flow would be greeting. Then can you go to a call flow, for example? Is it possible? I want to take a look.
Yeah, sure.
So the first initial would be the greeting, right? And then second.
I would say like the most basic call flow would be something like this, where you're going to have like a greeting. You're going to put your recording in there, and then you're going to dial a phone number, right? And then probably
dial should be a next step, right? Dial is not being done at the initial, not call flow step, right?
No, so let's get clear on this. So this dial step. So the way this would work is a phone call comes in, it's set up with that phone number. Okay, we look at that phone number, we say, okay, how does this work? Oh, the phone number is using this call flow. So let's go into that call flow. Okay, so it looks like the call is set to be recording, so we're going to record. Then we're going to say, okay, what is the greeting message? This will say something like, this call will be recorded for quality assurance, right? And then after that, this is where it's going to dial the phone number of the person that you want to forward it to.
Okay.
And the nuance on the greeting is you're going to upload MP3.
That's right.
With the voice, yeah.
So I'll tell you how we changed it in our agency and how we're using this is we started making this step be the menu, right? And so it says something like, this is our human challenge step, right? So we'll upload a recording that says, and it's actually a person talking, right? It's an MP3 that you can use for all your companies. And it just says, this call will be recorded for quality assurance. Hey, we've been getting a lot of spam messages. So if you could do us a favor and just press 1 so that we know you're a human, and then we're going to forward you over to someone on our team, right? And then we have, when they press 1, it comes down here. So we put both of those into one, and that's up front. And then we weed out a lot of these robocallers, right? And then we can put in the people that we're dialing right here.
Okay.
Can we record in the software, Patrick, or is that coming soon?
Coming soon, not yet.
Patrick, I have a client, right? I forwarded my line to his line. And in his greetings, he has a menu. So the way it works that my greeting is playing, right? And then his menu is the next step. Press 1 for sales, press 2 for billing or whatever. But what's happening, my greeting overlaps with his menu option. So my recording of greeting truncates his menu option.
Yeah, that's a tough situation for us to deal with. We don't really have a We don't really have a good solution for that when a client has it. You're just going to have to forward to him. He's maybe not going to know that it's from you because like maybe the whisper message plays when his system answers because we think that a person's answered the phone. But what I would recommend is you could set up an automation that sends a message after the call comes in, right? To let him know, like, hey, that call was from us. Here's a copy of the recording, that type of thing. So that way he knows, but you don't want to have this kind of collision where there's a menu. So you need to coordinate with your client on this one. And it sounds like, well, one thing you could do is if he's willing, you could just say, hey, we've got the menu built into our system but now he's probably not going to want to do that because he's probably getting calls from someone else, right? From like
Right,
other sources.
exactly, yeah.
So you're probably going to have to just like really dumb down the call flow and just send it to him and then set up automation so that you have really good reporting. Like with the call recording, like I would have an email going to him every time a call comes in. So you want to blow up his email box with proof and evidence of what that you're providing this, because with a system like that, you're going to potentially run into issues where he doesn't know what you sent him because some of the notification stuff is not available when they have their own system in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you.
And we have something that we're working on that is gonna, I think it's gonna make this better. Let me show you. Okay, so I covered this a couple weeks ago briefly. So now we're, that's actually not the right one. This one. So this is what we're working towards releasing. I don't want to give you guys a date because I don't want to miss the date. But we're getting close. We've been working on this for a long time. We've got almost all the functionality in here. It needs to be tested still. But this is a reporting system where you can essentially, it's going to start off with just phone reports. And then we're going to continue to like add on to it with like, you can mix in heat maps and Google Analytics stuff in here, all sorts of stuff that you can blend into this report. But for this first version, it's just going to be phone reports. So essentially, this would be a list of the reports that you've set up. And I could go in here and I could create a new one. So let's say I want to create one that's like for these two companies, right? So then I go on to the next step. And I have the option to choose the numbers within the company. So whatever companies I selected, you can do all companies. And then I'm onto the report. All right. So this is what a report can look like. Yes, you can change. You don't have to have LeadSnap. You can go in here and upload your own logo. You can decide whether you want to show or hide this whole page. So you can say, I don't want this cover page, or I want to add in the second page that includes the companies. I can include the phone numbers here too as well. So it's just up to you what you want to show. And then you can set up a date range. So if you want to run one report over some custom range, you can do that here. Or if you want to be able to schedule it, then you can choose something from here and say, okay, I want this report to go out every day or maybe every 7 days. And I can come up here and I can schedule this. And I can say, okay, I want this to be like run at whatever frequency I want. And I can decide who this gets sent to. You can have it get sent to by email. I can come over here and pick a date of when I want it to start. So this is kind of what we're working towards. And then you can also check this to require review. So imagine that you're running a report for a client, but you want to take a look at it first in case something went wrong or like the report's not super, it looks like a negative report. Maybe you don't want to send that. You want to try to fix the issue. So you can require review, and then that will send an email as well as put a notification up here in the top right to get approval, right? So once you approve it, then it would go through this distribution list and send those out, right? You can also share this as a PDF. You can download the CSV. I'll kind of show you more about, like, let's just kind of scroll down and look. So this is some of the stuff that would be included in the call report. So you can get the total number of calls, the amount of unique callers, the average duration, what calls are greater than 60 seconds, the sources that the calls are coming from, right? And then the days of the week that the calls are on there. You get an answer versus missed call percentage, which I think is going to be really good for our clients that are complaining, but also not answering their phones. And then you've got a call report down here, right? So you can schedule this as we saw. You can download this as a PDF. The CSV will only be this log, but you can schedule that log to be sent out. Maybe every Friday you want to send that out to your client, or maybe you just want to send them a link. And when they click on the link, they can load this page, and they're not going to have the ability to control any of the stuff through that link. They'll just be able to view it. Or we could send an email to them or email to multiple people. So I think that kind of combining what you're looking for, Vadim, this could be something that could be relevant for you specifically with like, hey, I can't, like there's the potential for the client to undervalue what I'm giving because he's not hearing the whisper message, right? That type of thing.
No, got it. Thank you, Patrick. Thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you're welcome.
it.
Yep. I want to
Whenever
share.
got to play the soccer the other time. Next time,
What's that?
maybe. Whenever got to play soccer.
It's on my to-do list, man. I may be a little while before I can play because I've been dealing with some sickness, but yeah, it's we're not far away from each other too.
Yeah, I
So-
feel the same way. It's been a month for me.
Yeah. Another
All right, thank you.
thing, yeah, that definitely we're gonna find a time to connect, Vadim. Another thing that I think is going to be useful for our clients, like your client, if you decide to give them access to the system, especially as we release the white label, which it's constant delays on that, guys. My apologies. We're still working through some issues there. But this is going to be the new page that clients can see when they log in. We're based on the requests and the questions that you guys have had using the system. We want to make sure that our clients are aware of what we're sending them. So we're going to have a dashboard that they just see when they log in, and we can kind of get some information with the total leads, the total forms, the total calls. These will not be qualified calls. These will just be the totals. And then we've got graphs and, similar to the report that we had built out. And then finally, this one I'm hoping to get live at the beginning of next week. I think this is going to simplify things a ton for you guys. But this is how this will work is we're moving these sections over here, which if we kind of look, if we look over here right now, we've kind of got this like leads is its own page, all calls is its own page, right? And we don't have one for forms, but you can apply filters. So they're still going to be over here on the left side, but we're going to put them inside these tabs so that they're right next to each other, right? And the way this will work is you can essentially come in here and click on this question mark. And if you say like, okay, that's a lead, when you click on this thumbs up, it's going to move it over into this qualified section, which right now is the all leads, right? So those will be like the thumbs up, or you can mark it with like a thumbs down, like, see here, this is just a prototype. So, okay. So I mark this one with the thumbs down so we can easily tell which calls are leads. Right now, it's not clear how we have it, and we understand that. So this is our kind of solution. So these are ones that the question marks will be ones that you haven't really addressed yet. Like if you're going through and you're trying to qualify the leads, this, I think, will make it a lot easier for you because you can quickly look through and see what's done and what's not done. And then as you mark them, they're getting moved over into this qualified area. So this will essentially be the all leads, and this will be all your forms, right? So all your phone calls, all your forms, and all your qualified. And then in the future, we're going to make it so you can make your own views that you can save that will essentially be like you have applied some filters there. So I think that's going to give you guys a, we're constantly trying to improve the usability of this. And this is some of the changes that we're making based on the feedback that we've heard from you guys. So I hope you got those changes. Jeff, before we hop off here, it looks like Greg Adams has his hands up.
Mr.
What's
Patient,
up, brother?
What do you got?
Yeah, just real quick here. So one of you guys reached back out to another guy when it works on your site. But what I'm trying to do is my local customer, he's a contractor, building contractor, and he's growing out. He's in this one city. We're doing okay with that, but he's trying to go over just one neighborhood, one zip code over because it's really qualified. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to, get some ranking inside there. I know about building out some neighborhood pages, so I'm working on that. So should I just get another GMB in that area? I just want some, the best way and the quickest way to kind of get this out. And again, it's not in a whole nother city. It's just like one zip code over. His spread now right now is around one town right here. And I just need a little bit more reach to kind of get basically across the lake. You know, they're connected together. So
Do you mind, obviously we don't know the niche, but do you mind sharing the city?
yeah, Conroe, Texas.
Conroe, Texas. Okay.
Yeah. It's home improvement, home remodeling.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you real quick and let's just jump onto this. I think this will be this will be the last question. So any other questions we'll just throw
We
them
have
in.
a couple of real quick ones, Patrick, that have been sitting in line. You're just
Okay. All right. I will, this will not be the last question. Then I'll do some real quick ones. All right. So, Greg,
So Montgomery, say like Montgomery, he's right here off of where it says Lake Conroe Park. His business is right in there off of 105. So his GMB is pointed right. Go up a little bit right up there. It says Lake Conroe Park. His GMB is right in there. And we're just trying to get Montgomery or right up here where you see around the corner of this lake back over towards Montgomery, that area over there. That's what we're trying to do. So
okay. So he's like right here.
Yeah.
And he wants to get over here, right? So
Yeah,
that's
or
6
little-
miles.
Yeah, that's about it. Or a little up
Okay.
there because there's neighborhoods a little bit up. I wish I could get on the screen. So right, where it says Margaritaville, the lake resort right there, that's a very expensive neighborhood through that. And on the other side of the lake over there on the other side,
Okay.
So it's not,
Yeah,
basically.
I get it. It's so close that it's going to apply. And then this area, do you know the population of this Montgomery area? I imagine it's really small.
Well, that general area, if you just Montgomery, the town itself is really small, but I mean, that whole area, if you go Montgomery County, you probably got at least 70 to 100,000 people. I mean, Conroe, you've got way over, 100 right there. That's probably like 200,000. So it's growing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Here's the strategy I would use. Let's do some drawings. Hold on one second. Let me get rid of this stupid thing. All right. Let me draw on this thing. All right. So here's what I would do. So this is Conroe, and you've got a site over here, right? So this is kind of going back to earlier on the call, some of the strategies we were talking about. So you've got a site for Conroe, and you probably got your Google My Business over here in Conroe, right?
No, it's actually, well,
It's over here?
Yeah, it's right closer down where that says Lake Conroe Park.
Okay. All right. So let's say it's right here. Okay.
Yeah, that's right about where it is, right there.
That's good. It's good to have a GMB there, but you need one over here too for Conroe. You need to have one in this city if this is where the site is. Does he do? I assume he does work here. There's 100,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't have one there, you need to get a GMB inside there. And I would also set one up.
Yeah, the money's really not in the city itself, though. It's around there, out these other neighborhoods out here around the lake. The money's around the lake.
Right. But I don't know. I mean, there's something. Do you think that the people that are living around the lake are working in Conroe?
No, they're driving into Houston.
Okay. So if there's no value, then I probably wouldn't have built my site in Conroe. Like I would have chosen it to be over here in Montgomery. But if this is, kind of an impoverished area, then like I'm just
it's not impoverished. It's just not, where the high end of he's a high end remodeler, he's going for the bigger stuff. And,
okay.
Neighborhood over there called Bent Water. We call it Bent Wallet. I mean, that's kind of money's over there. So
okay. I would just take that into account when you
choose
your
city. I know it couldn't hurt.
Your strategy in the future. It's like, yeah. But if you want, you can put a checkbox on that says, "Hey, I understand that the minimum is $25,000, right? Just to clear out the riffraff and not get a bunch of low quality leads." But you said there's 70,000 people in this city, so I would be definitely building if there's the combination of a lot of money and a good population. 70 is kind of my minimum, but this is really where he wants to target. I would be putting one here. Given the small distance between where this GMB is and the area that he wants to target, you should be able to get this GMB to rank in these areas. And what you want to do is you want to get some reviews and you want to get some questions. You want to name some of your photos. So reviews
Yeah,
that
he-
say, hey,
He's got, well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but he's got a ton of reviews. I mean, he's 46, 43, and we're working on that every day. I got him to sign up Company Cam. We just installed that, and he's got a lot of 5-star reviews. And
those reviews need to mention the areas that he wants to rank in with the services and not
Okay,
just
got
be
it.
like, this is a great company. They should be
Got it.
mentioning like, I have a house over here in Montgomery and I hired this company to do kitchen remodeling. And I liked it so much that they also remodeled our bathroom. So I'm getting the keywords and the locations mixed in there.
Got it.
That would be my strategy. I would get a GMB there, potentially a website there. And I would take this one and I would get a second GMB over there. So I'd have like so let's make this website will be, so this blue color is like the website for Montgomery, and the red color is the website for Conroe. And I'm going to have a GMB for both of them over here in Montgomery, right? Because I want to take up more spots on the map, right? Like what happens if you have enough sites and enough GMBs that you take up all the spots on the map? What does that look like for your client? And like, can we get a GMB over here? As you said, like Margaritaville.
Yep.
Like, can we get a GMB over there too? Right.
Yeah.
But these types of areas that are wealthy and kind of like spread out, like if you think of your GMB like an antenna, right? Where like, this is the antenna, and then we've got like 10 reviews, and then we get 20 reviews. And wherever this antenna is closest to, the signal gets bigger and bigger, right? Let's say we add like 20 reviews. The signal gets the antenna gets taller, signal gets bigger. We add more pages to our website, right? We add more questions and citations and all these different things that contribute to our GM keeps getting bigger and bigger. Being no reason that given the small population of Montgomery and given that it's only 6 miles away, you should be able to hit Montgomery with that GMB, but I would double it up, and if not triple it up. And like even the Conroe one, like I would be willing to bet that if I had a GMB over here in Conroe, that I could get it to rank over here in Montgomery if I got this antenna to be tall enough, right? So those would be kind of the strategies that I would take. I would look back through this stuff here in that document. You look at GMB, like actually the first.
Yeah, I've watched some of those. 3 of them in there that you had. There was more than that, but yeah, I watched 3 or 4 of them the other day. I was on the call, so I thought I would just hit you directly with it and just
for sure.
Thinking
no worries, but there may be some ones in here when I'm not like half sick that I can't think of that are in here that like posting. That's another one. You should be mentioning Montgomery in your post, running little specials, having photos that you upload that are like house remodeling Montgomery or Margaritaville. Like if you use Margaritaville, you may not want to use that one because that's kind of weird. But some of the other like ones that are actually.
I use the neighborhood, because everybody knows the particular neighborhood. It's Walden, so I just say, Walden. Everybody in that area knows Walden. So yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool, man.
Thank you.
Hope that helps.
Thank you. Yeah, it helps a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff, you said you had some quick questions.
Yeah, going back to the AWS, do you have a preference between light sail or workspaces versus workspaces?
I don't know what we use, to be honest. It's been a long time since I set that up. Jeff, who asked that?
Says Jay Hunt. I'm not sure who that is.
John, I think there's a guy that just joined named John Hunt.
Okay.
All
right.
John, if you don't mind posting that. What's that? Yeah, that was the term I was looking for earlier. Do you know what we're using? Amazon Workspace. There we go. That's what we use.
And Ari is asking, just got the first rank and rent site, have an address ready to go. What would he do to prep the GMB, if anything, like citations, etc., or just send it and get the postcard? What would you recommend?
We've kind of gone back and forth. There is a lot of there's a lot of people that think, and I like tend to agree with them, that if you kind of like set up some of the big citations, so like Yelp and yellow pages and stuff like this, that the possibility of getting the GMB to come and not get suspended increases. There is more work. And then like, what if the postcard doesn't show up? Ari, if this is at a location that you're going to have continued access to, then maybe do that. If it's just somebody that you found on Craigslist, then, you know, I'd probably just send it. I'd also pay attention to the niche that would factor into the decision of whether I'm going to do this. If it's kind of like a spammy or niche, like locksmith, or, you know, roofing or plumber or something like this, then I would probably be more likely to set up those citations, because I think those niches are going to be more heavily scrutinized. But if it's something that's a little bit more obscure, then I might not take that time to do that. But if you have continued access to that address, such as like your place or your friend's place that you know well, then you know, you can spend more time to build this up and send multiple postcards. Because like, hey, if the first one doesn't show up or whatever, then I'll take the time. Like I'm going to have like unlimited access to this address, right? So those would be kind of my factors. Other than that, I would say probably 7 times out of 10, we just send it, I think. And, you know, usually it shows up for us.
Right on. And then you're going to share the docs from tonight in the file section of the groups, correct?
Yeah, I'll share those. I'll share those docs.
All right, with that, we're done.
All right. So you guys, we solved our streaming problem somewhat in Facebook. So I would love to hear in the feedback, like type in there, biggest takeaways from this call. It really helps us. Zone in on where you guys are getting value. I mean, there's so many different things that we're doing in our agency, and we're trying to do our best to locate the ones that are most important to you guys. So we'd love to hear your biggest takeaways in the comments of the Facebook thread there. If you guys know anyone that you think that this call would be valuable for, then tag them in that call. And you know, if there's someone that's a good fit for our group, we'd love to have them. No jerks or hotheads allowed. All right, cool. You guys got 7 days to do the work that's necessary to create some wins, right? Let's get you guys on the winners board next week. Congratulations to everyone that had awesome wins today. Sound like we had a good amount. So you guys have a great week, and we will talk with you soon. All right, take care, my friends.
Thanks a lot, everybody.